Hey man,
How are you?
good. We're like matching today a little
Yeah,
bit.
I saw that. A little bit of color.
Someone actually, I just signed up for something called Mr. Collection, I think it's called. It's like Latote for guys. They might also do girls. It's like, you get like a box of stuff to kind of, clothes to rent that you can send back, whatever. You just get like 4 items or whatever. They sent me a purple polo shirt, and I think you have a purple polo shirt. So it was like, I'm
Dude,
not wearing this to the office because that's like a pretty bold choice to two people make in the same office, I feel like.
I like purple.
Yeah, it was a cool looking shirt.
I like purple. I like purple. Yeah, it's funny. Well, now here we are with maroon or whatever we are today.
Exactly. So you were talking about, so you're doing demos. You were talking about doing demos for Basecamp before we turn this on.
Yeah, I'm recording this is actually a good thing to talk about. So originally we're making a tour. So you sign up for Basecamp 3 and you land on a page. Originally the idea, I'll give you the whole backstory. Originally the idea was to say, you land on a page, thank you. Do you want to take a tour or just let me get started, right? And if you said, let me get started, hang on, let me just turn something off here because I've got no notifications hitting me. If you decide that you want to get started, you just take you into the first project flow, like set up your first project. If you decide you want to take a tour, we then drop you into this like series of screens, like 6 or 7 screens, one thing per screen, very similar like you've seen on mobile. Everyone's sort of doing these sort of swipe through 5 things and you're done. We started doing that, and we went through like a dozen variations on it, I feel like. Maybe not quite a dozen, but a lot. And I just felt like we were just doing it, we were just going through the paces. Like we weren't actually, I don't feel like if you took that tour, you'd be any better off. Like we were just, but like we need a tour. So, and then eventually we decided, let's just make a video. Let me just talk straight into the camera on my webcam even. We're not going to have like a professional setup with just as if I'm talking to you right now. Just I'll move around, I'll look around. I'm just going to talk and record myself talking about what the product does in 90 seconds. Then we'll kind of superimpose a few screens here and there. Just a very casual. I think that everything has gotten so slick that especially product demos and tours, and there's music and there's animation, and just let me just, hey, like I'm giving you a quick tour, I would just pull up my webcam and do it. So we're going that direction. That said, we started to set up some like better lighting and stuff, and I just got nervous. Like I was like it's harder to record when there's a light on you compared to just like right now where I feel like there's just natural light coming in, I just can talk. Very different to know when you're being recorded versus when you're just speaking. Even though this is technically being recorded, I don't feel like it is because I'm talking to you, I'm talking to someone. But it's an interesting little thing. So anyway, we're replacing the multi-screen tour with a single video, and then at the bottom of the video there'll be 2 buttons. One will just say like, let me get started on my own project, or let me play around for a while on a sample project. And then if you click that one, we take you into a sample project flow where you can mess around.
Have you thought about doing it more? So 2 things maybe to consider, maybe that could help. They're just kind of, I have no idea if they would actually help. But have you considered like having someone then interview you, like maybe a little bit similar to this, maybe a little bit more scripted? Would that help it flow better? Have David ask you questions, or Ryan, or whoever.
The way I am, for whatever reason, if it's contrived, I feel it in my bones that it's contrived. So I have a hard time faking an interview or whatever. I have a much better time just one thing I was actually thinking about doing was just like giving someone a tour and just recording it. But it's not really a tour, it's more of a broad overview. So but anyway, it's been an interesting experience, and I've done many of these before. Whenever I just record my screen and me talking, it's fine. But whenever I've got like cameras set up and stuff, you just kind of tense up a little bit, and I don't feel like it flows as naturally. And the whole point of this was to try and make it natural. So still working on that.
Yeah, there's another, I actually just read in Psychology Today. This again is applied to something different, but I'm curious if you get any use out of it. It was like they were going over people who freeze up doing talks, which I know you don't do. You've done so many, you're good on stage, but on Psychology Today, they were, or in one of these psych journals or something I was reading, they were talking about like a strategy people could use to kind of help get through some of freezing up on stage, and usually the usual advice is things like, deep breaths, but this one was a little different. I've never seen this bit of advice before, but it was pretend you're invisible. Like actually pretend that the audience is like looking through you, that they can't even see you on stage.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's supposed to trigger something in your mind that like calms you down, that, you kind of like trick yourself that you're not even there.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was interesting. That's why I felt like bringing it up, just because it was one of the more interesting pieces of advice about this I've seen.
Yeah, because I have no problem on stage at all. Like, no problem talking in front of people. It's this sort of contrived environments I have a problem with, which is also one of the reasons why I don't like to give canned talks, and I'd much rather give just spontaneous talks and Q&A and stuff. But anyway, little thing that I'm going through today, struggling with a bit.
Yeah. I've also noticed, this is an interesting segue into something else I've noticed you've been doing, is like you've been announcing like you're doing more talks. Like I think you're gonna be at the Fun conference or something, like tomorrow even.
Yeah.
So like how do you do that? I mean, I'm curious, like I know a lot of people are probably curious, like are people just always asking you to do conferences? Are you like going out and signing up for these and looking for these and applying to them? What does that strategy look like for you?
I'm not applying. People are coming to me and asking me. I usually get about maybe 20 to 25 talk requests a year. And I've been turning them all down like over the past year, because I've been working on stuff. And then next year I want to get back out and do a bunch of talks again. So I'm basically saying yes to almost everything right now that's somewhat relevant. But I'm also doing talks in sort of different industries. So like next Friday, I'm giving a talk at a midwives conference. And I want to get away from tech conferences, and I want to talk about our stuff elsewhere.
I love it. That sounds great.
Yeah, so I'm meeting up with, there's about 250. I'm actually Skyping because it's remote and I'm unable to make it physically to the location, but I'm doing a Skype thing for 30 minutes, showing off Basecamp to a group of, I think, 250 midwives and doulas. And
how did that happen? How did that even come about?
It's funny. So we had a kid a year ago. We had a midwife and a doula, and the doula is part of this larger knows this woman who runs a larger organization, and it turns out that she uses Basecamp for everything. This woman who runs this bigger organization of doulas, Midwestern doulas, she uses Basecamp for everything, organizes all of her doulas and all the projects she has going on with different clients. And I heard about this because our doula mentioned it. And then so I got on the phone with this woman, and we talked for a while, and she has a conference coming up. And I'm like, let me show your people what Basecamp can do for them. She's like, that'd be fantastic, please. I'm like, fine, let's do it. So we're doing it next Friday. So that's, I mean, I'm doing some tech conferences too. Like I'm doing Smashing Conf. I'm doing or Smash Conf, Smashing Conf. I'm doing. I'm blanking now. There's a handful of them. I'm doing some in San Francisco. I'm doing some in New York. I'm doing some in Amsterdam next year. I'm got other things, a couple other things going on. But I really want to get into these sort of less trafficked, for software at least, conferences and speaking there, because I think there's such opportunity in those areas, and a lot of people aren't talking to those people about the ways that tech can really help them. There's a lot of tech being talked at tech conferences. Everybody who goes to a tech conference already knows all this stuff. They already know the tools that exist. They already know what's possible for the most part. So anyway.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, I think I'll probably maybe approach a few, like I'm starting to approach some journalists to talk about some stuff, but maybe I'll talk to a few conference organizers as well. But for now, I'm being asked by a bunch, so I'm just kind of, if my travel schedule works, I'm basically saying yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and David and I are both doing this. We actually didn't get out much last year, and I think in some ways it hurt us a bit because we weren't as vocal, and I think you've got to keep telling your story. You can't tell it once and think people are going to find it again. You got to keep telling it. You got to keep talking about these things and these issues that we have, and these ideas that we have, and these points of views that we have need to be reiterated, because there's always a whole new generation who's never heard these things before, and you can't just assume people are going to pass it down or whatever, hear it again. So we need to get back out there. I think it's important.
Yeah, and I feel like you and I have talked about this before, and I feel like it's not a natural thing for, maybe it's because we're in software. I'm not sure. Maybe just people aren't natural. There's this whole concept in software of not repeating yourself. You make software usually not repeat yourself. Like you try and automate things, or you try and, when you write code, you try and encapsulate certain things that you don't have to repeat constantly. But when it comes to like writing and it comes to spreading a message, it's like just the opposite. You have to figure out how to repeat yourself, and you have to figure out, like, if you are getting tired of a message, how do you jam on it? How do you make slight changes but stay on message? Because like you're saying, like, you keep going in these new places and there's tons and tons of people who've never heard these things before.
Right.
So it's important, but it's not like a natural thing to feel good about doing. You have to figure out how to figure it out. I don't know.
That's a funny point that you make. I hadn't thought about that. About mostly tech is kind of about reducing repetitive tasks and letting a computer handle that kind of stuff. And this is just the opposite. Yeah, I think it's also just flat out more exciting to speak to new audiences. When you go on stage and you speak to a group that's never heard of you, doesn't know anything about you, I just find that more exciting than going somewhere where it's predicted what you're going to talk about, or people already kind of know you. It's still fun to do that too, but it's a little bit more exciting when you're doing it in front of a new audience.
Yeah.
I'm trying to speak in places that are not on the coasts. I'm doing some talks on the coast, but the coasts are so overserved by conferences and workshops and seminars and stuff. It's a lot of great. One of my favorite conferences, I've only been there twice, and I'm going to try and go back this year, is a conference called Big Omaha in Omaha, Nebraska, and it's a fantastic conference put on by great organizers. It's always been excellent, and those are the kind of, like, the audience is hungry. A lot of conferences don't come through Omaha, and it's wonderful to be able to put that on and be part of something like that. I felt the same way for a long time in Chicago. When Chicago didn't get really any events, all the events you had to travel for. Now there's a lot more here. It's great. It feels good.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Cool. Want to get into some work?
Yeah, let's get into some work. What do you got going on?
So let's revisit. This might not take up a ton of time, but let's do it. So you and I have talked about bulk email that Highrise is getting into right now, and that chat was very helpful. So here, let me just. I think I can just. I'm ready to just show my screen. I'm just switching branches. Right. So I'll pull up. So there's just a couple interesting questions that I'm still kind of working on. That I thought you might have some interesting advice on. All right, I will. Even the name. So let me, as I'm pulling up the screen here to share my screen, even the name for bulk emails, I hate that word. Bulk is bulk. Bulk is such an awful word.
Yeah, it isn't a great word. That's true.
Here, let me screen share now. Entire screen. All right, share. All right. I'll present to everyone again. I guess I did that last time.
Yep.
All right. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
All right. So yeah. So I'm even just stuck on the name. Bulk email sucks.
Well, why? Why does it suck? What's wrong with it?
I don't know. It's just a hard sounding word. It's getting into my just aesthetic brain of I don't like the word.
Well, okay. Let's step back.
People use it.
Yeah. Let's step back for a second. So you got MailChimp, you've got Emma, you've got Constant Contact, you've got Campaign Monitor, right? These are newsletter tools where you're sending bulk emails, but I don't think they ever refer to the word bulk email. Right?
No, MailChimp refers to newsletter quite a bit.
Okay. So newsletter, you've got Campaign. I'm trying to think of the other things that it's mostly newsletter, campaign, email blast, things like that. Yeah. I don't know, those are good or bad, but look and see what other people are calling these things.
Yeah, there's another. So I was just trying to interview. So even Lynette, she just sent out a bulk email the other day, and she doesn't think about it as a bulk email, but she thinks about it as, when she was sending this out, it was to a group of her contacts. It was to a group of people using the Basecamp Classic integration with Highrise. She needed to email this group of contacts. So I'm tempted to go through and call it group emails or group messages.
That sort of suggests that people can respond though.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I feel like group immediately means like it's like a collaborative kind of thing, or you'd
Yeah.
think you'd be like messaging someone inside high rise, like your other, collaborators or your other users. So yeah, I'm not loving group either.
What if you got, and this is not the right word, but what if you got kind of folksy with it? And it's like, send a bunch of emails. Send a, send a pile of, I mean, this isn't right again, but like, this is just the, the creative process, right?
Yeah.
Send a pile of emails, send a bunch of emails, send a lot of emails.
Yeah.
There's something interesting about coming up with a word that is your own. In some ways, as long as it's somewhat identifiable. I think this is one of the nice things about when you speak with customers and you do customer interviews, you pick up the language they use.
Right.
And maybe everyone does say bulk email. And if they do, then you should probably roll with that because that's what people say and what they'll be looking for. But maybe they say, I need to send a bunch of emails to my customers. I need to say, I need to send a lot of email. I need to send all my customers an email. Like it's not so much bulk, it's like all or a lot of or something like that. Like send a lot of emails to, I mean, that's not the right, again, it's not right, but more of a phrase than a like a title.
Yeah. All right. I'll use that a little bit to think about. I might end up just with bulk emails because we get the request even when customers ask us for this. It's like bulk emails, please.
I would just maybe consider calling it bulk emails then.
Oh yeah.
If that's just what people, if that's the language people are using, that's what I'd roll with. Even if it's kind of ugly, I'd roll with it because people can identify with that.
Yeah.
I think.
People are tweeting mass email.
Mass email. Mass email. Yeah. Send a mass email. Yep. Maybe.
Cool. Thanks, Nathan. Thanks for that tweet, man. Okay. Yeah. I'll think about this some more. Some other things too. So this is the screen. This is kind of like the report of like what. Here goes some Basecamp 3 notifications. While
yeah, you can turn off your notifications if you want.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Right. I should be in here.
Go there. Go to your avatar and then hit snooze
for 3 hours.
Done.
So here it's kind of like the report of like, so here are the bulk emails that I've sent. You'll notice at the top, I'm doing something a little differently than I think I've seen anyone else do, which is like, I'm trying to call out your best email, the thing that has like generated the most like engagement. Cool. A lot of these tools, they'll give you the numbers and senders are constantly looking through their stats, looking for the email that is doing the best, that's like getting the most clicks, that's getting the most open, so that they can replicate that success later on. And it's usually, I find it just a little too buried. So I wanted to like kind of call it out at the top, like, hey, here's your best email. So, but this also starts to. There's another thing that kind of weighs on me is like performance of an email. A lot of people track opens. If I'm sure you've used a MailChimp or Constant Contact. A lot of these tools all are tracking opens and clicks. And a lot of people get some value out of this, but like opens is really inaccurate. Like Google started doing something where they're like caching, they're like caching that little pixel these days. Mm-hmm. So like, sometimes now, like it's not even accurate anymore. Even if you show images, like that little stupid tracking pixel, like people, it's really inaccurate now. Or people just don't have images turned on in their Gmail account, and then
if you include the tracking pixel, it needs to be a different file name each time or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like, is it? And then also based on even just kind of like the fallout you saw with like all this ad blocking stuff, like people are obviously like a little weary of being tracked all the time. And this is kind of like an unasked for return receipt, right? You send an email and now all of a sudden I can tell that you've opened it. So I'm on the fence. Like, I know it's value to people sending out these emails. Like, I get value out of knowing, are people opening the mail I send them? But I also can see the other argument, like, should I not even be doing this? Or should it be an option that you can choose to turn this on or off?
Well, what's it for? I mean, this is the thing. Like, what's the job, right? is it really about tracking opens and clicks, or is it just about reaching out to people? Like, what is it for? Like, are you trying to optimize a campaign, or are you just trying to send an email to your 30 clients telling them you're going to be out of town next week? Like,
Yeah, I mean,
what is the purpose of it? And I feel like you're not, maybe what I'm getting is you're not entirely sure. And so that's partially why you're like, well, maybe I need to do what everyone else is doing.
yeah, maybe. I mean, this tool comes from a use that, we have right now to, but it's a multi-purpose tool. Like, we sent this out now to communicate with a bunch of high-rise customers about a change that's going to happen. We use this tool today to message, new customers as they're signing up to see if they need any help. Both of those have very different jobs. And the second one that I just mentioned, the one to new customers, to ask them if they need help and to try and engage them with us and to try and provide more support. I want to know if they're opening the email, because I have tweaked the language. I want to know which email subject does get the most opens. So it's one of those things where I feel like it's a multi-purpose tool. There are multiple jobs that people are going to have for something like this.
Well, so is that a hunch? Sometimes I wonder about this because I struggle with this with Basecamp sometimes. We use Basecamp. We're still trying to figure this out. So do we call the things in Basecamp projects or something else? Because a lot of the use that we have for Basecamp isn't projects. It's teams, it's groups, it's a company-wide intranet space. Like, there's all these things, right? And so what I'm trying to understand for myself is, what is the common case? What's the real common case? Because if you just keep saying it's multi-purpose, it could be anything for anybody. The direction then is very difficult it's very difficult to hone in on that and make a specific experience really good.
Right.
So I wonder about, like, here's how I would look at this. I would say, what people want to do right now, what can they not do? They cannot send bulk emails. Okay, that's what they cannot do right now. So let's let them do that. Launch that, deploy that, get that out there in the world. Then let's see what happens. Are people like, well, I want to be able to track reads and opens and clicks. Then maybe you'll find out that that's the case. Maybe you'll find out that is not the case. And you'll put a lot of time and energy into something that's actually can't be accurate anyway. And people are going to obsess over the accuracy of something that can't be accurate, and you're going to drive yourself crazy because you can't quite deliver for them. When what they cannot do at all right now is send bulk emails. Give them that. Give them bulk emails. Doesn't have to have any tracking for reading or opening or anything. Just, you can send multiple emails at once now.
Yeah. They
will rejoice, and then you'll learn more about what else they want to do.
Right.
And then you can sort of extend the product or extend the feature set around that.
Right.
That's what I found to be the best way to do this, is just like, what can they not do? Give them that alone.
Right.
What comes from that.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. You're right. I do think I have stalled on this a little too much, trying to perfect it and just get it out there.
Or trying to imagine. And by the way, I do it all the time too. It's like, it's this sort of sense of, I want to have in some ways it's like, it can't be that simple. I can't just give people bulk emails. Like, I got to give them more than that. But really, maybe that's all they want.
Yeah.
The other nice thing about it is that you, when you give someone something as simple as that, then you hear back definitively about what else they feel like is missing or what they want. When if you give them other stuff, they tend to focus on the things that don't work around those other things, and then you end up sort of you end up like with a local maximum, where you're just sort of improving something that didn't really matter anyway, just because it exists. And it's a rallying cry for people to focus in on something and go, well, the accuracy is not. I tested this out. I opened my emails. It says 33% instead of 100%. Like, then you get into this whole thing where you're chasing down this problem that no one actually has anyway.
Yeah. And you're totally right. Like, I mean, that's actually like what we did. So, we in Highrise, you can connect your Gmail account too to send individual messages. And we kept it so super simple. And like, we knew people were going to want more. And we debated, like, should we add attachments and BCC and CC? And we were just like, no, people are going to want it, but let's just not do it. And like, you're right. Like, the emails that come back then, like, really concretely tell you what they need. And then we barely get anything on like formatting. So like, originally we were thinking like, are they going to need to like, you know, add bulleted lists? And like, I don't know if we've gotten a single ask for like bulleted lists or more stuff to format in the email, but they've really wanted CC and attachments. And so like those were easy to add because we had all that concrete feedback. So yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah. I don't know. That's my first impression after looking at that.
Yeah.
Give bulk emails, ship it. Ship something else after that if there's a V11 of that. But V10, give them something they couldn't do before, bulk emails, period.
Yeah. All right, done.
Yeah.
All right.
You can maybe ship that tomorrow.
You know, totally. Like it's ready to go, except for all these other little bits and pieces I keep debating about. And it's mostly about like language, and it's like, just do it.
Yeah. You could also ship it with calling it bulk emails, and when you're announcing, be like, you know, I don't really like this word bulk emails, but I couldn't come up with something better. It seems to be what everyone seems to use, so we're gonna roll with that. And hey, if anyone has any ideas for how to make that word better or something, like let me know. And then it's like a collaborative effort, and you can decide to change it later if you want. But just kind of admit that I don't know if this is right. I kind of don't like it, but it kind of is what people use. So
I love it. That's a good idea too.
Yeah.
So it's getting. I also I'm not gonna. Yeah. So, since we're running out of time today, like the next thing that's kind of like on our plate. It's coming down the pipe or the pike. I never know which one is correct.
Right.
I think people use both. So we're working on this redesign, and it's largely aesthetic, but it's also like powers a lot of other stuff. Like we've redesigned the high-rise activity feed, and like we really want to start like freshening up everything. We've talked about this in previous episodes. So I'd like to get your eyes on this, but it's hard because it's like you know, I have another designer working on it, and so like I'm looking at it, and I've got criticism maybe, but it's so hard to like start doing this. Like I want to get it into our own hands and start, you know, we'll apply it to our own account soon so we can start using it. But man, it starts getting in the weeds of like, oh, is this font of the nav bar too big? Have we shrunk the font too much here? Wait,
what is this for?
There are an aesthetic redesign of high-rise.
Oh, you've got, like, you guys are far along on some stuff?
There's activity on it, but we're already at like 3:30 right now. So I'll show it to you tomorrow or later this week or something.
Okay, that sounds fun.
And it's totally fun, but I swear I could look at 20 shades of blue sometimes. I don't know how to turn that off, or if it's a healthy obsession or what.
Well, I think part of that is relative, so it depends on when. If that's what's holding you up from shipping, absolutely not worth it, probably.
Yeah.
If it's in your own spare time because you're just obsessed and it doesn't really matter right now, it's not holding anything up, then sure, obsess all you want. But I think it's kind of about relative timing on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I haven't seen any of this, so it'll be fun to look at that.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. So yeah, it's 3:30. It's probably time to go.
Yeah. All right, man. I will talk to you tomorrow.
Everybody, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's taken off. Yesterday's video of BC3 was like our best one yet.
Awesome. And I'm going to record that other video right now, actually. The light's good. So
awesome.
I'll see you later.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.